Hi class, for this lab we're going to be looking at the chi-square values and you're going to need these three links. If the third one doesn't open, you can just open up any StatCrunch file, clean it up. Actually, you can leave the values there, you just need the calculator. And let me actually go to the first problem. So here's the problem that they want us to do. They want us to find a chi-square value, and we're going to find these values using the actual table and the calculators. Our actual TI-84, 8384 calculator doesn't have the code, so we won't be able to use other in exams other than the table. So this is what this was going to be looking like. Technically, we have only a total of 10 degrees of freedom. I mean, n is equal to 10, so the degrees of freedom is equal to a value of 9. So for this one, degree of freedom is equal to 9. And then it's a chi-square distribution, so it's actually going to be doing this. I'm just going to place it, since it has 90 area above it, and in this case, I'm just going to place it here. So this chi-square value, it's going to have 90 here. Okay, so let me show you how to use and read the table. So as we go to the table, we're looking at a total of 9 degrees of freedom. So in this case, this is your degrees of freedom. I'm just going to rewrite it as df. And in this case, 9 degrees of freedom is here. Total area above it, it's equal to 0.90. So in this case, using the table, the closest value is 4.168. Now, some of these are going to be way off because you're not going to have all the actual areas on the table. So in this case, for this particular one, it'll be approximately 4.168. And let me just go back to the table, 4.168. So I'll just rewrite it as, in this case, this chi-square value of approximately 4.168 has 0.90 area above with n is equal to 10. Okay, so our actual table gives us 4.168. And once again, you actually read it as follows. Your table only gives you the area to the right, in this case, the shaded region. And then this is going to be your degrees of freedom. So in this case, 9 and then 0.90 above it. And careful with these because that's like 0.05. That would be the closest value. So your table only gives you the area to the right, and then our calculators actually don't have it. Let me show you how to find this value using the online calculator. In this case, you're just going to modify this portion here. So 0.90 and then a total of 9 degrees of freedom. Let me double check. And then you just type it in. You're going to find, in this case, we're matching 4.168, which is technically what the table gave us. So we're matching on this one. Yep, 4.68. That's how, well, that's one way to find these values using technology. My math lab is going to want you to use technology on some of the problems because the table is way off. Okay, let me show you how to find these or this with StatCrunch. So you're going to go to Stats, Calculator, and then the chi-square. And this is going to pop up. So we're using 9 degrees of freedom. You're going to put the area above here, so 0.90. And then you're going to adjust this portion. And then, well, I don't need to compute. You can just see that that is 4.168. That's for the first one. Let me go to the second one. So here's the second problem. And this one, we have to be a little bit careful. They're actually telling us area below. So let me just provide the sketch. Our degrees of freedom are going to be 11. And then I'm just going to rewrite it how we read the table in the calculator, area above. So I'm just going to rewrite it. And you have 0.80 below. So that means that this specific chi-square value is going to be out here. And it's going to have technically 0.20. And that is your 0.80. I'm just shading the region that we would be looking on the table so that it's easier. So let me go to the table. So 11 degrees of freedom. So this is 11 degrees of freedom. And then the closest to 0.20. The closest to 0.20, it's going to be here. So, in this case, 11 degrees of freedom. 0.10 is the closest. That's 0.05, 0.025. Yep, 17.275. So this is 17.275. And let me double check from the table. Yep, okay. Some of these, they're gonna be way off using the table. So I'll just provide the disclaimer that technically this is from the table. And then let me write it out as the chi-square value of approximately 17.275 has 0.20, has approximately 0.20 area above. Now, if it doesn't say how to find it, that's actually fine. For the problems on the exam, you would be using the table since our calculators don't have the actual, well, the software. Let's actually run it and compare it. So in this case, we're just going to modify that to 0.20. And then we're doing 11. And this one's going to be a little bit off. Let me double check. 0.20 and then 11 degrees of freedom. So 14.631. Let's actually run it in StatCrunch. Once you have it here, it's already a matter of just adjusting it. 11 degrees of freedom. This will be 0.20. And these should match. So we're getting 14.631. 14.631. And let me just write it on the lab. So using the online calculator, the chi-square value is actually 14.631. So 14.631. Now, I wouldn't ask you to find it all these ways, but you do have to look at the homework, and some of the problems are going to be asking you to use software. If they want software, StatCrunch or that link will do it. Other problems may ask you to do the table. So the table here actually provides a little bit of a discrepancy, but it is technically the best that we can do based on the constraints. And then here, if you look at the table, well, you have an infinite amount of values. So what they try to give us is just the most common ones. So all of these are going to be for confidence intervals. So it'll go back to the 90, the 95, and the 99. So that's why they don't provide other than those basic ones. So just be careful on the homework assignments. They may want you to use technology. And if you're using technology, you may run, well, basically this website or the StatCrunch.